Hello and welcome to your new word sort. Today's a fun sort, I think. We are taking words that end in Y because they're kind of tricky words sometimes when we want to change their ending. If we want to make them plural, one thing happens. If we want to add an ing, something happens. And when we want to make it past and add an ed, another thing happens. So I've already went ahead and I put the base words down and we can begin sorting. So when we have the word play and we want to add an S to the word play, like he plays on the jungle gym, all we have to do is add an S. When we want to add an ing to play, well, we just add an ing. And when we want to add an ed, so it's making it past, like he played on the jungle gym, we just add an ed. Like this. But sometimes words that end in Y, we have to change the Y to an I. And add an ES. For example, fry. If we want many fries, like you can't just eat one French fry, you gotta have a handful. We take away the Y and add an IES. When we want to add an ing, we'd keep the Y and add a ing for frying. And when we want to add an ed, we get rid of the Y and add an I for fried. See, these rules are kind of strange. Sometimes they follow the rules, sometimes they don't. So we have to practice them so we can get it figured out when we want to spell. Cry, just like fry, when we want to add an S, we get rid of the Y and add an IES. Crying, we just add an ing. And when we want to add an ed, we get rid of the Y and add an I. For spy, to make it plural, we get rid of the Y and add an IES. If someone is spying, we just add an ing. And if we want to say someone spied yesterday, so it happened in the past, we get rid of the Y and add an IED. So far, these three-letter words, fry, cry, spy, when we want to add an S or an ED, we get rid of the Y and add an I. Interesting. Let's look at stay. To make it plural, we say stays, or I should say to make it third person, like she stays overnight. If we want to add an ing, we simply add an ing. And if we want to make it past, we add an ed. And spray, add an S, sprays, spraying, and sprayed. There you have it. Practice spelling these words, especially this week, so that you can start to memorize when you add an IES or an I, when you replace the Y, and when you just add those endings. Have fun, give this a practice every day, and on Friday you'll get a spelling test.